everyone. Today we're so excited to have Mr. Gaurav Rastogi with us. Um, Gaurav had worked in Infosys before, where he led the 10x expansion of Infosys from $700 million to $7.7 billion. He's now working at AI agent space, building his own companies and guiding them. He's also into spirituality, and so that's why we have a lot of interesting things to talk about today. I'm probably not going through everything, but I leave it to Mr. Gaurav to introduce anything else about him.
Bharat, it's good to be here. Thank you for having me, and it's great to be on campus at Plaksha. It's my first time here, and I'm very impressed.
Thank you so much, sir. So I think we briefly were discussing about AI agents. I wanted to understand as to what exactly are you building currently in agentic frameworks, and what's something that's personally most exciting to you about the space?
Okay, I'm going to answer this question with a long preamble so you have a better sense of who I am and what I'm interested in. I've been around the technology space for over 3.5 decades, ever since high school. You know, the underground basement of my very wonderful school, DPSR Tripuram, had a computer science lab, and I spent a lot of my high school just at the lab. And from then on, I've been around technology all my life, of course. I've been in the learning space all my life as well. You know, last 20 years, I've done a lot of work in the learning space. And of course, sales and sales transformation has been my calling card. So there are different sets of spaces that I've been involved in. Plus, I teach meditation, I teach philosophy, I run an institute for Hindu philosophy. And so there's many different spaces that I participate in, and I'm an active member of for the most part. And so I get to see a lot of interesting problems everywhere. What's happening now in this space is there was a barrier to entry when it came to coding, and that barrier to entry was the ever-changing landscape of syntax. Programming languages evolved every decade or so. There was a new system that you'd have to relearn, and then with AI and analytics, the tools and widgets that are available to you also expanded, and so it's a heavy entry barrier. So if you're not in the market, you're not doing things, you sort of feel that you're outside. It's like if you've ever been to a garba and you don't know how to dance, then you're guaranteed to be beaten with sticks, because you're going to get into the dance and not know what the moves are. So you are afraid to jump in. The interesting thing about the time that we are in right now is that the dance is changing, and so many people are still trying to figure out how to work. And so if you're invested in a lot of different spaces and participating in it, it's a great time to be out there creating, because now it needs you to have the power of imagination, the ability to spot a problem, and just the passion and junoon to solve it, and build, and of course do it with systems. Of course, as you know, building agents is not without its dangers. Mostly, it's hard work. It seems easy, but it's hard work to do, because it's like a bolting horse. You know, it does not want to be ridden, and so it's always trying to run away from under you. So you have to learn how to use AI the right way, and you have to have the ability to think about how does AI and automation fit into the world at large. So the problems that I'm solving these days tend to be the problems that I have spent a couple of decades thinking about. Learning is a problem. How people learn is a problem that I've been, over the last 25 years, I've spent a lot of time thinking about it, both as an educator. I teach at IIM Ahmedabad and at Ashoka and at my own institute. And so as an educator, I know learning needs to change. As a technologist, I know the need for learning is increasing. I wrote a book about this in 2022, where I'm looking at the world of work and how people need to learn new things as the world continues to change. And so in the learning space, I'm building a whole bunch of tools. But in the spiritual space, I have a bunch of tools. Because I'm an educator, there's a bunch of tools that I've built. The point I'm coming to, Bharat, is that your imagination and your time are the only constraints. At this point, you can create things that have not been imagined before. It's such a wonderful time. And the previous 3 decades of not knowing this particular syntax or this way of thinking, all of that is gone. You can learn, if you have the learning mindset, you can learn and get on building really fast. It's a fun time to be doing all this stuff.
Wow, this is absolutely interesting. So one of my questions on this particular topic is that when you're building agents, how do you define markets, and how do you make sure that the problem that you're trying to solve is actually validated and there is a need in the market itself?
Yeah. To quote that famous meme from Lord of the Rings, one does not simply build an agent. You don't go out building an agent just for the heck of it. You have to understand the problem that you're solving. What is an agent? An agent, way back in 2017, I used to have a startup which was an AI for documents. It could read documents just like a human can. But of course, this is 2025, 26. You already know that. You already know the stuff because it seems commonplace. But in 2017, this was new. Now, at that time, my intuition when I was pitching it to clients was simply, don't think about AI. AI just stands for artificial interns. If you had an infinite supply of really, really smart people that didn't know your domain but could do things you could ask them to do, how would you work, right? And imagine having hundreds of thousands, millions of documents at your hands, and you had infinite, very smart interns available to you. What would you do? You'd do one of three things, and then I'd go through the entire demo. And the point was that here's an infinite supply of interns. Why this is important, the reason I'm telling you this is, what's an agent? An agent represents the ability to bring a multimodal, multifaceted intelligence to bear in a process, right? To solve a specific problem in a particular manner. So how do you build agents? First is to figure out what is the problem that someone wants to solve, right? And that problem, can it be solved by human beings? If you had an infinite supply of human beings, how would you solve it at scale? What is the process for doing it? Is there a structure or a method to that series of steps? Can that structure be automated using agents? Can those agents be built? Can those agents be built in a way that they have stable structures? Because your prompts might be flaky, your underlying LLM might be flaky, or your process might be flaky. So can it be done at scale? And can all these things be rigged together in a consistently seamless manner? It's easy to write a prompt and get a response, and you might mistakenly think, oh, I can write a prompt, and now it can do all of these things. When you build things for scale, it's not about writing one prompt. It needs to be able to handle a series of cascaded prompts. It needs to be able to handle a series of structured transformations and unstructured transformations. It needs to do that in a way that is fail-safe, error, and sort of self-correcting. And those are all very hard problems to solve. So you don't try to solve those problems until you've understood the problem. You don't try to solve a problem that has no market. So first you try to figure out, what are you trying to do? How do you do it currently? How would you do it if you had infinite intelligence? And then how can I break it down into a series of steps? Is that helping?
Yeah, for sure. So how would you say that what has been the process for you to identify the biggest challenges right now which can be solved with agents?
Okay, so I'll the world is your oyster right now. Any number of problems can be solved with agent, with Agentic AI. Let me give you a couple of things that I've been working on just for fun. One is for fun, and the other is it's actually a business app that I'm building. Let me just describe the process of building something with Agentic, with coding AI, just as a fun thing. I decided one day that it's not good enough for the world to have, you make presentations which are PowerPoints or Canva or PDF, and in that hierarchy, PDF is the most flat. It's built once and it's has no interactivity. It just, that's what you send to people. Canva can be a little more interactive, more fun, and so on, but that's still limited. And you could send people videos, right? You could also send people videos where you have animated voices, hands, faces, and things moving and so on. I decided, what the heck, why would I not combine these two into something which is an interactive video with a talking head, content, and anywhere you click on this on the web page, it starts speaking from there. And so you have a complete build your own adventure kind of presentation. So imagine that the listener can actually hear it and in my own voice, but they can do it at their own pace. There are 10 things I want to talk about. You click on the thing, it starts talking from there, and so on. And so I built it out because I could imagine it, and because I could imagine, I built the whole thing out. It's a ton of fun. It's a series of engineering problems. You know, the good news is you're Plaksha, you're very smart engineers. Everything can, in this case, needed to be boiled down into a series of engineering problems. For example, we're in a studio right now. You can't see it, but we're in a studio. And so I can sit in front of a green screen and remove the green screen with a filter later, right? Imagine doing that, and now you have a talking head with no background. That makes it that much more immersive. Imagine a web page where I appear magically and I'm just talking on the web page. The background is some sort of a lightly gradient, moving gradient, right? You can see how it becomes more immersive and interactive. Plus, I'm talking, and as I'm talking, words get highlighted. The phrase that I'm talking about gets highlighted. You click that particular thing, it goes there, or the slide transitions. You can see the whole thing is a series of very interesting engineering problems. How to remove the background, how to deliver a background-less video is a non-trivial problem because your browser treats it differently depending on if you're Safari or non-Safari. So you need to figure out how to deliver, this is called an alpha, so removing alpha and delivering just the alpha to your browser is a very hard engineering problem already. Then doing this click to text, click to video is another hard engineering problem to solve. So you can now build a whole bunch of stuff that wasn't possible with people because it would be too expensive for a fun science project. So that's an example of a easy, fun build. It's not easy at all, but a fun build. The other thing that I've been working on is actually I have a whole theory of how people learn. And so learning, if you went to a traditional classroom, not at Plaksha surely, is someone would lecture at you. They stand in front of a whiteboard or a green board or a blackboard, and they're just writing stuff, and you're taking down notes, and it's very one-sided and very boring. And the problem with that is no one remembers anything. You walk out of the meeting, out of the classroom, you've already lost 30% of the information. By tomorrow morning, you've lost 50%, and by the end of the month, you've lost 80% of the information. So I have a learning theory, right? So I have a way of how people should actually learn. That learning theory I want to apply to content that's available at scale. So now what I've built is an agentic process where you insert a YouTube video on one side. It actually understands the intent of the video, figures out what learning objectives are the intent of this video. This is all human in the loop, by the way. None of this is a machine, right? You can tweak around with each of these. Then allows you to structure the training, then convert that into a series of interventions. Do you need quizzes, flashcards? Because the interventions determine how much you're going to learn and remember. And then creating content, and then validating the content. Each one of these is a hard problem. Now you might think sitting in your dorm, well, I could do that, or Notebook LM could do that, or ChatGPT could do that. Yes and no. It could do a very small part of that. Yes, you could insert a YouTube video and ask it to summarize. That's great. But it doesn't do the whole thing. It doesn't do the whole thing consistently, and it does not do the whole thing to a completely new learning theory that doesn't exist on the internet. So you can see how this is a fun problem to solve, but one for which there's a lot of utility. You, for example, as a student, probably watch lots of YouTube videos. But like everybody else, you have a low attention span. So you're always thinking in your mind, can you cut to the chase? Can you get to the point? Right? So you want to be able to get to the place where you need to start watching, and then you'll watch to wherever you need to watch. But even there, you're going to forget. So if you're watching 20 hours of video every month, you probably watch more learning video, you're likely to forget 19 of those hours, right? Because that's just how your mind works. So you're only getting 1 hour of learning out of 20 hours of watching. I can solve that problem for you. What if I had you watch 90 minutes of learning and keep 1 hour of that as your takeaway? Does that not improve the extra 18 and a half hours that you're earning back every month? That's the problem that I'm solving. That makes sense?
Yeah, I mean, that's very interesting. And about your take on learning itself, I think there was some deep psychological understanding as to how humans learn. And I feel that, as you mentioned, Notebook LM, I've used it and I was just amazed as to the amount of ingenuity that this product required. And I'm sure that the product that you built also required a fair bit of thinking. It's very interesting. So what exactly, I'm very curious about, what was the best feature that you, according to you, users sort of liked or preferred in your product?
Okay, so a lot of these steps that I've described to you are completely new. So each of those is a separate research paper. Building each of these required a lot of work. Obviously, I've done this for 25 years, so I have my own mental models and research that I've done and experiments that I've run. But each of those problems requires new thinking. It requires you to step away from the way things are being done and say, how can I do this differently? And so in this set of things, some of the most fun things that I've solved. One is, what is the new learning model? How do people learn? So I have a learning theory that I built out, and that I have it's well documented, and so that is one part of, I really enjoyed building out that learning theory.
You want to talk about a bit about the learning theory?
Yeah. Okay. All right. So the way learning theory works is, there's this guy called Mr. Ebbinghaus, 1885, the year 1885. He goes around asking people what they've learned, and he discovers this loss curve. It's called the Ebbinghaus forgetting curve. You probably know this because you don't remember the name, but you know it, because similar to how when you buy a car, it depreciates as soon as you step outside the dealership. You drive out the dealership and it's lost 20% of its value, right? It's the same but worse for your learning. 80% of the learning is lost in the first 1 month. And that's if you actually had good quality learning to begin with. Now you haven't applied it, right? So how do you beat it? There's a bunch of ways to beat it. It's called the sawtooth. Basically, you apply active learning, you learn it and you play back. You apply practitioner experiences. And I'll give you another example in a second. You have Bernard and Ceci's transfer learning. So you learn in one domain, apply in another domain. So you're able to apply it, and then it fires a few more neurons. And then Mihai Csikszentmihalyi's flow psychology, which I'll talk about later in the masterclass, is when you've given a challenge, you're in a state of flow. So now, how do you learn in a state of flow? So those are all ways to deliver learning that are different. So when I teach, for example, my classes, and my students already know this, they're built around this entire learning theory. One, I meme the heck out of my class. Why? Because I want you to remember. The weirder the thing, the more you're likely to remember it. Now remember, I talked to you about the car drive out, right? That you were going to remember because it's just so weird.
Right.
And so I meme the heck out of it because I want you to remember the thought, because I want you to reconstitute it. Then I have people come in and give their perspective. It turns out you really learn a lot when someone shares their experiences, right? So you now have two angles. Then I ask you to apply it and fail doing it. So it builds your muscles, right? And that allows you to learn more. Then I ask you to write a reflection note. And your real learning, truth be told, is in that reflection note, because that's when you bank your learning. So the Ebbinghaus forgetting curve gets you a 20% basically retention over a month. My learning gets you about a 20% gain. So essentially you've learned 120%. Now you might wonder, how the heck does that work? The way it works is, there's a theory. You learn the theory, you'll hear about it, you'll practice it, you'll think about it and write. And now you have combined this theory with what you've seen, you've practiced, and what you've connected the dots. You have learned more than the theory that I've transmitted to you, right? And makes it more interesting learning.
Wow.
Now there was something that I was going to say that I forgot. What was it?
I think you were on the lines of completing how your journey about AI.
Yeah, we're talking about learning as well.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, so with AI, what's happening is AI is a very capable tool. What's happening with AI is you need to, as an individual in this day and age, you need to build your own combination of experts. When I work with AI to code, I don't just work with AI to code, for example. Why? Because as you know, and I'm sure your teachers are telling you, you never write code to begin with. You solve it in the mind first, right? So you have to now understand the problem and solve it first. I work with, and there's a Latin word which is solvitur ambulando, which is it is solved by walking. There are so many problems that when you walk and think, you're able to solve it. So my system now involves a series of tools that I use to progressively go through a thought and iterate it until I have the pure kernel of thought, which I then apply to building out. So I'll begin by talking to my AI. You might have your ChatGPT app. I have my Claude and Perplexity apps. I'm trying to reason through my ideas. Once I've reasoned through it, I have it document and write down. Then I go to another tool. I'll create a bunch of content. I'll go to Notebook LM and I'll say, okay, why don't you digest this and make me a mind map and a podcast? Because I'm trying to distill it down. I'm trying to distill everything down into simple things. That allows me to have pure thought. Then I can get down to building.
Right.
And then I architect it first, then I test it, then I build it, then I test it again, and then I start interconnecting the systems, the same process.
Wow. So one of the things that we're looking at AI and large language models in specific is that there was an expectation in terms of it exponentially increasing, you increase the number of parameters and it improving its knowledge base. But that seems to be not happening. And I think people's expectations have sort of boiled down in terms of how they actually perform. So I wanted to understand your take on this. Where are we led to in terms of the progression of large language models? Do you think there should be a fundamental shift in how we actually use LLMs for it to further advance?
Yeah, great question, Bharat. This question is not a new question. It's always being asked when a new transformative technology comes around. For the first 1 to 5 to 30 years, it doesn't actually have any impact. In 1987, there was a very well-known paper, very well-cited paper called The Dynamo and the Computer by Robert Solow. And he said famously in 1987, computers are everywhere, except in productivity statistics. And so by that time, a decade and a half of computerization had happened, and yet there's no payoff. The same thing had happened with electricity. When electricity came out in the early 1900s, it took about 30 years for shop floors to be completely remade to use electricity better. This is a J-curve where initially productivity drops and then it picks up. Now you might say, well, LLMs are not improving. We used to be shocked out of our wits every month when the new OpenAI thing came out, and then Sora came out, then DeepSeek came out, then Manus came out, then we were, your mind can only be blown so many times, so many different ways, and now you're not impressed anymore. Great. The thing is, I don't care if you're impressed or not. The point is, we're not using it even to today's level. Right now, your AI is smarter than any and all postgrads available in this world. Right? Any objective measure of human intelligence, AI is already better than that. You see what's going on here? Beyond this point, it's hard for us to gauge if it's any smarter using our intuitive benchmarks, because our benchmarks have long been broken. My question is, are we putting it to work? And the answer is, no, we're not putting it to work. Why? Because we're still thinking in the old way. We're still trying to figure out how to use it using old ways of thinking. Let me give you another example. You might have a microwave oven at home, and you might be storing food in refrigerators. Right? This is all too common. Every technology follows the same cycle, where it's a 3-stage cycle. Initially, there's curiosity. Oh, look, there's this thing where you pop in a cup with water or food and it warms it. It's curiosity. You're happy to see it, but what the heck are you going to do with it? Then there's the convenience stage, where people start using it, and sure, it's really convenient to have food warmed up when you want it. So curiosity and convenience. The real payoff is in the last stage where it becomes a lifestyle. You can now go to work and cook maybe 2 or 3 times a week, keep the food in the refrigerator, and get properly hot food when you want it. You have now changed your lifestyle because of the refrigerator and the microwave. That's when it's become an integral part of your overall lifestyle. This is at the individual level. Companies have the same process of exploration, adoption, and transformation. First, you use the technology, and then you become the technology. The same thing happened in the last 20 years, where if you saw, every company went through this process of testing out this new digital internet thing, and then they started saying we're actually a technology company in the banking, food, hotel, whatever business, right? It's going to be the same thing. I'm an intelligence company in the food, hotel, tech, finance business. That's just the way these things work. So your question is, the models are not evolving anymore, and my answer is, are you using the models as they stand to, even if they stopped evolving today? We're not using it. It'll take us a long time to digest the technology.
Wow, that's a very different answer was I was expecting. But how do you think that is the most essential skills? As you said that AIs are very advanced in terms of their ability to do things. What do you think becomes the most essential skills in business and in productivity?
In 2017, I was running an AI startup, like I said, and because I teach meditation and philosophy, my friend said, you're a weird combination of, on the one hand, you're saying, don't do anything, we'll do all the work for you, I will automate it. And on the other hand, you wear your other clothes and you say, if you're not doing anything, don't do anything, sit there and meditate.
Yeah.
And so the question was, what is the future of the human worker? I gave one talk, they liked it. I gave 20 talks, and we had so much material, we published a book with Oxford University Press in 2022. The point of the book was, it's called Global Business in the Age of Destruction and Distraction. If you're entering the workforce now, or if you're in the workforce and you're caught in this change of everything is being destroyed and remade, economies, societies, companies, families, individuals, everything's being destroyed and remade with technology, and our minds are not available to us anymore because we're distracted. Algorithms control our thoughts, right? They tell us who to be angry over, what to be outraged about today, or what to be envious about, and so on. And so now, if you're a professional, to answer your question, what are the skills we must have? I came down to a simple framework. In the 1800s and 1900s, the hallmark of literacy were the 3 R's of literacy. Do you know what the 3 R's are? Those are reading, writing, and arithmetic. And yes, I know they don't all start with R, but if you weren't literate, this was just good enough for you. So the three R's of literacy were reading, writing, and arithmetic. Now, post 2022, let me ask you this question. Is that a good benchmark for literacy?
I think it is definitely a benchmark, but again, we are so involved that we need to have some better benchmarks.
Right. After ChatGPT version 3 came out, it is no longer a useful benchmark because humans are worse than AI on reading, writing, and arithmetic, and many other things. So now, what does it mean to be literate? To answer your questions, what are the skills you must have? My conclusion was that we are no longer doing any heavy lifting because we've outsourced the heavy lifting to machinery and to domesticated animals and so on, right? We're not anymore going to do heavy computation because AI and algorithms and machine learning and all the computing power that we have available will be doing that. So what are the human things to do, right? Not heavy lifting, not heavy computation. What are we going to do? We're going to do human things, and I brought it down to 4 S's. 4 S's because now 3 R's, so 3 plus 1 and R plus 1 is 4 S's, and those 4 S's are social skills. We need social literacy. We need to be able to connect with people and genuinely feel their vibe. We need to be able to talk to people one-on-one, one-to-many, and virtually. That's a skill that we need to relearn. Social, spiritual. You're going to find that people are burning out at a much faster rate because they're not able to connect with the purpose of their enterprise. So finding meaning and purpose is going to be a very essential skills, because otherwise you're going to lose energy every day that you go to work. At some point you'll burn out, and then you just don't want to go back to work again. That is not a good way to be, because you don't have any joy. So spiritual literacy is finding that joy, that meaning, that purpose in your life. So social, spiritual. Sales is the third thing. You might say, well, I'm not going to do sales. Why do I need it? The ability to understand other people, the ability to understand what other people value and give it to them. That's sales. The ability to influence other people, the ability to tell stories, those are all sales skills. Storytelling, shaping, communicating, influencing, very important, critical human skills. And the fourth is software. Software not as in coding, software as in seeing the entire world as being an algorithmic machine, understanding the patterns that run this entire, the universe and the world that we happen to live in. That becomes a very important meta skill. Understanding not coding and syntax, but understanding the world as a series of interacting patterns. Software literacy. So now I have four things that humans need to now learn and acquire as to be completely considered literate: social, spiritual, sales, and software.
So if you were 20, how would you learn those skills?
How would you learn those skills is a very important question. How would you learn those skills? It turns out the college system, the education system, is not designed for any of these literacies, right? It's designed to give you the sort of literacy which you can write a prompt for these days, right? And so now you're going to have to find ways to learn those. How do you learn social skills? By doing things with people, in being involved in sports, being involved in arts, doing your drama club, things with other people, even doing politics on campus. It's a great way to organize and learn how to understand how people work and think. Very important to do a lot of this stuff, which in my days used to be called extracurricular, but extremely important for personality building and learning how to build that connection with people. Spiritual, you're going to have to really go to a lot of lengths to understand what it means to have purpose and meaning. Unconventional advice: watch a lot of movies, read a lot of fiction, talk to a lot of people, go to meditation and philosophy classes. There's a whole bunch of YouTubes that you can watch. Sales, influencing skills, communication. You should, again, I'm sure your college has classes, find ways to learn how those things are. It's a meta skill. You can't get a job without being able to convince people to give you a job, right? It's a very important skill. So where can you learn? The whole world is out there available to teach you. Find mentors, seek out their advice, watch people do these things, and people that are exceptionally good at it will tell you how they became good at it.
Wow. I think on the middle note, I would like to understand as to, because this podcast will essentially be for students, and we have sort of two diversions of students. One is engineers and maybe engineering entrepreneurs, I would so to say. What would be your advice to both of them? Would you say that there has to be some order in terms of how you go about doing things? Which I mean to ask is that should you look at working at a company or at a startup before actually starting your own company, or the other way around? And if not, how you would like to answer this question?
You'd be really lucky to have worked in one of those mafia companies where it's a great engineering team that have a great product, and if you can join those companies, you should, because you learn the system, you build the intuitive muscles that you need to run your own entrepreneurship, your own enterprise, and so on. Mafia companies, famously PayPal Mafia, for example, right? So those are great to learn from. Not when they become large and bureaucratic, because then you never learn, because you're only learning the piecemeal thing. As a new joinee, you're going to be given a piecemeal piece of thing, and you're a cog in a machine. But a company that's got great people that are willing to teach you their systems, very important. It's an amazing, life transforming thing if you can get it. Otherwise, you're going to learn in the school of hard knocks, one way or another.
Wow, That's interesting. Do you have any advice for, okay, if you were 20 again, here in India, what would you be doing
India at 20 in
in
2025
2025?
is an insanely great place to be,
Hmm.
because India has one momentum. You guys are young, you are hungry, you have all the amazing technology
Hmm.
and an infinite supply of problems to solve, which the society is hungry for. You can create amazing things for people that are doing good work for society. Do something that makes you proud of the work that you've done. Build something that gives you generational wealth, and you don't have to make a choice one way or another. You could do both. It's a great time to be alive,
Wow.
to be honest.
Yeah. Uh,
But what I tell you is, find your people, find your friends, find your things. One advice I give to people all the time is my famous, to me, I give it to all my students so they know this, is my Hathi or Sathi talk, which is, you're going to have, you ready for a story?
Please.
All right.
Yeah.
So so there's an elephant, Hathi. The elephant's walking, and you know how elephants walk?
Yeah.
It just walks with a little sway. It's walking very peacefully. It's got its own momentum. It's just walking like this. And as it's walking, dust is rising. And it's walking. And it's flapping its ears, and dust is rising, it's walking. There's a bridge on a river. And the elephant continues to walk, and it walks on the bridge. And this is one of those wooden bridge thingies. So the bridge is now swaying with the elephant. And then the elephant crosses the bridge, flapping its ears, goes to the other side. Now the dust is raising, and the bridge is now beginning to slow down. It's flapping its ears. And then if you zoom into this picture, on its ear is a flea. If you zoom in further, the flea seems to be saying something. You zoom into what the flea is saying, and you sort of look at the thought bubble that's coming out. The flea is saying, "Bhai, aaj humne hila diya na usko." Right? The flea says, "Brother, we've shaken up the bridge." Right? Now the thing is, you're just a flea. You haven't shaken up anything. The shaking is being done by the elephant. And so when you're looking at solving problems, Hathi, the mega trend is a very important thing. Find your Hathi. The mega trend that will make you solve the problem. That will, when Mark Andreessen calls it product market fit, this is the market. It's so hungry for solutions. Even your first alpha crappy solution, it has hunger for it. Hathi. Sathi is people that want what you want for their own reasons, and they're willing to work with you. And this is important because if you were reading fiction, every hero's journey, you need friends, you need collaborators, you need a fellowship. And so you're going to need friends that want to do things, but they bring complementary skills. They're cheering you on, but they also want you to succeed, because when you succeed, they succeed. Right? And so now you're locked in to this team that trusts you and you trust them, and together you'll create amazing things. Hathi and Sathi. So if you're 20, find your Hathi, and go find your Sathi as well. Don't do things by yourself in a vacuum. Go talk to people and find people and problems that you can solve.
Thank you so much. That was really insightful. Thank you so much. We'll put an end to this, but it was interesting chatting with you.
Bharat, it's been a pleasure. I've enjoyed my time coming here at Plaksha. You guys are amazing. The choice of coming to this engineering college over everything else, I congratulate you for it, because at this time, the skills that you're acquiring are going to go a long way in helping you see the world differently, not just as an engineering with tool skills, but an engineer who understands the world as it is and is able to create wonderful things. So I wish you, who's watching, I wish all of you all the best, and I look forward to seeing the amazing things that you're building. I can't wait.